Hey guys, before we get into tonight's video, I just wanted to apologize for the lack of streaming this week. I was mainly focused on schoolwork, doing story times, and of course doing a little bit of editing that I did for Metroid Dread, the fan trailer that I made. I'm very proud of that, and I'm very happy with my labor, that how it turned out. And I hope you enjoy it too. And those of you who are listening and doesn't know about it, it'll be literally the third video in the upload of this week. But next week I will go back to doing streaming and the story times and a little occasion on editings for here and there until I'm able to get the Metroid Dread series and make it to a full video edit series. So that's all I have for now. Enjoy tonight's video. The year is 1999. The sentence brings me back to my senior kindergarten class when I was 5 years old, when I used to read out on the date of the blackboard every single day. The year 1999 existed as a stain in my mind, however, as a memory that I will never go away no matter how hard I tried to forget. 1999 marked the year I lost my first tooth, my first time on a plane, and unfortunately, the early loss of my childhood innocence. That one memory that refuses to be wiped is all started with a new or old TV. At the time, Pokemon was the latest fad that hit the school. Pokemon cards, games, stickers, and the most popular, the TV show. So of course, every time I came home to the school, I would stay glued to the TV until Pokemon came on at 5. And the only problem was that my dad watched the news at 5:30 and Pokemon episodes were back to back, which meant I had to miss an episode every day. Sometimes I whined on and on about it. My dad got tired of hearing me complain every day. That must be why he went and bought another TV. My dad put the TV he bought in my room. Unfortunately, it was just an old small boob tube with rabbit ears even. It also had 20 channels available, not including the channel Pokemon was on. I recall I didn't care. Didn't care though. I was just thrilled to have my own TV in my room. After surfing through the channels, I came to the conclusion that the only 2 channels, TiVo Kids, was worth watching, so I watched that for a while. It wasn't for another few months until I discovered Channel 21. One day in April, I was flipping through the channels, trying to see if Pokemon was on. I pressed Channel 21 on the remote, hoping that there would be more channels. And to my delight, there was. My dad was surprised too, but he let me watch it because it seemed to have kids programs on it. The channel was called Caledon Local 21, and later I found out it was indeed a broadcast from the town of Caledon, Ontario, a town very close to my city. The show I saw on Caledon Local 21 looked poorly made, and I never understood what was going on in that half of the time. However, as I grew up, every time I thought about that channel, I realized more and more how messed up the show was, and I had to ask myself, what the heck was I watching? The following are the list of shows and episodes I remember seeing in Caledon Local 21. How I remember such details even disturbed me, but I guess things like that stand out in the mind for a while. The channel only ran for a few shows, probably because it was only operating between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. April 1999, Mr. Bear's Cellar, Episode 12. Very sketchy name if you were to look at them nowadays. The show featured a guy wearing a bear mascot costume who would have never knew visitors into his cellar every day, and it was always kids. The show was filmed in the camcorder, and not a very good one either. The police asked me a lot of questions about this show. This episode started with Mr. Bear sitting at the table playing checkers by himself. He sat there playing for a little bit until there was a knock on his door. The camera was then looked at the stairs of the door. That's when another knock. Mr. Bear climbed up the stairs and opened the door to reveal 2 young children. One was a boy about my age, and the other girl was a girl who looked about 8 or so. Mr. Bear danced in delight and then started talking to the kids. I couldn't hear any of them that well. I remember Mr. Bear then led the kids into the cellar, which was quite dark, only lit by a small oil lamp on the table. I can't really remember that much more, except him singing a song which I couldn't hear too well either. probably because of his large bear mask. The episode ended with them playing hide and seek, but the kids hiding in the closet and Mr. Bear counting. May 1999. Soup and Spoon. I don't think this was even a show. I think it was even more of a special movie thing. All I know is I stopped watching Color on Local 21 for a while because I thought the show was too stupid, especially since Pokemon Now came on at 4:30 and 5. I don't remember much of this, but it showed a can of soup and a spoon both attached to strings, swinging back and forth as if someone was holding them and dangling them in front of the camera. Interesting enough, the show was shot in a basement, which looked like it could be one of those used in Mr. Bear's cellar. Like I said, I can't remember much. The only thing I remember clearly was the end. The entire thing was only a half an hour, and just included stuff I found stupid, such as a spoon chasing a soup around trying to eat him. The ending showed a table of about 7 kids sitting around it, each with a bowl of soup in front of them. They were sitting and looking at the camera, but with confused, almost frightened faces. The cameraman then held the can of soup in front of the kids and said, "Spoon's ready," and then it just stopped. July 1999. It was summer, and I hadn't watched Channel 21 in a while, until one day when I slept over at a friend's house, and I decided to check it out again. My friend had gotten the TV in his room for his 6th birthday, so we stayed up very late. For us, 9:30 was very late, and watched TV. That's when I remembered Channel 21 and brought it up to my friend. We decided to see if it was on, and to our surprise it was. There must have been change in the broadcast timing. Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 23. This episode was entertaining for my friend and me, mainly because it had swearing. However, now when I think about it in the episode, I realized something was definitely wrong when it was filmed. The episode started with the camera on its side, while it was facing Mr. Bear, who was walking up the stairs to the cellar door. The camera then blacked out for a few seconds before fading in, back, upright, and facing Mr. Bear. There was also another kid talking to him, but this kid looked like about 11 or 12. He was then talking to Mr. Bear for a while, but I couldn't hear well, again with that crappy camcorder, until the kid started raising his voice. The kid was saying how late it was and his sister had to go home. He could also hear the more voices in the background. I remember Mr. Bear clearly saying, "Get the heck out! You're not invited!" with the deep voice muffled by the bear mask. I remember my friend and I looked at each other and laughed and mentioned a formidable F word. But the episode got weirder. The kid began climbing to the stairs before turning around and saying how he was going to call the police. Mr. Bear began breaking into a run towards the kid, who started screaming and running as well. The camera then cut out, and that was the end of the episode. The channel then turned to static shortly after. August 1999. I didn't want to watch Channel 21 after that. In August, I grew more curious to see Mr. Bear's cellar for some reason, though. The last episode I saw with Mr. Bear was weird, and it had swearing, which also made me think that the show was meant for teenagers. Nonetheless, I flipped to Channel 21 when my dad was busy. Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 28. Apparently this episode had been playing the entire month of August. It was studied a lot by the police. The entire episode was just Mr. Bear sitting in a chair talking to the audience. "Hello, kids. Do you want to visit my cellar? If you do, please write me a letter at the address." The screen then switched to the white screen with a multiple colored letter reading the address. And that is when I remember for the rest of the episode, this repeated for about 5 hours every day until September came. And I guess what I actually did, I sent Mr. Bear, or the sick bastard who was betraying him a letter. I did out of curiosity mostly. My dad was okay with it because he thought it was a legit kid show. But then again, he never saw any of what was on Channel 21. So I wrote a letter using my best writing possible. I think it said how I wanted to meet Mr. Bear, so my dad sent the letter to the address Mr. Bear said to the show. It stayed on all day, anyway for some reason. It took about a week to get a response, which I was surprised I did. I still have the letter I received on August 15th, 1999. The letter read, "Dear Elliot, thank you very much for your letter. I would love to have you in my cellar. We play games, watch movies, and go fire camping in the middle of the woods. Come to my house at," the police cut out the address, "Cologne, Ontario, Canada. I look very forward to having fun with you. Love, Mr. Bear." I cannot believe my dad never found this sketchy, because he actually took me to the house. And then when the police became involved, those endless questions, those police of terrified kids, the woods. That brings me into why I was writing this blog. That psycho and his friends did some fucked up shit back then, and now it seems that he's trying to get into the contact with me again. The entire police thing is coming back. This is what brought 1999 back to me. Over a decade later, it is happening again.